welcome to today's video. My name is Pam. I like to do cozy, crafty things, and I also really like to travel. And today's video is going to be a little combo of a travel video and a crafty video because I just came back from a Europe trip with my family, and I've been wanting for many years now to document my travels via scrapbook or a travel journal, and I just haven't done it. Every time I come back from a trip, I'm always like gathering things throughout my trip that I'm like, oh, this would be cute for a journal, this would be cute for scrapbooking. And then I get home, I get busy, and the more time passes from my trip and I haven't started documenting it, the harder it gets to actually do it for some reason. It's just like a weird mental block that I get, but I decided to put an end to that and to actually start my travel journal documenting. And I know junk journaling and journaling in general is very popular and trendy right now, and I'm kind of falling for the hype. I'm kind of joining the bandwagon because I've been like inconsistently journaling for a long time. I like try a journaling trend, do it for a short amount of time, and then I fall off when I can't keep up. But the junk journaling trend that I'm seeing and like the way people are talking about it nowadays is really speaking to me as like an inconsistent hobbyist of just like doing whatever, forget the rules, forget about rigid structures, and just do what feels natural to you, what you enjoy. And that seems very simple, but for some reason something wasn't clicking, but now I'm finally like trying to build a journaling habit. So I thought this would be a perfect time to start with a travel journal. And I was gifted like a little scrapbook set for traveling a few years ago. So that is the little notebook that I'm starting with. And yeah, like I said, this was a Europe trip with my parents and my sister. We went to London for 3 days and then to Paris for about 5 days. So it was a rather quick trip, but we did a lot. And I had been to London and Paris both before, but it's been over 10 years at this point from that trip. I went in 2013 when I had just graduated high school with some classmates on like a little guided chaperone tour. And that was a very cool trip. It was my first time in Europe, my first time overseas. And so that trip holds like a very special place in my heart. But honestly, on that trip, it was also just a week long, and we went to Ireland, London, and Paris. And then we also made some other stops along the way. So it was very quick. We really didn't get to see or do a lot. And this most recent trip that I just went on was also pretty quick, but I feel like we really got to see a lot, and we checked off a lot of the things that we had on our list, on our itinerary. So I thought I would bring y'all along with me on this trip and then also show y'all how I am documenting it on my travel journal. So yeah, hope you enjoy this video, and let's just get into it. Our 3 days in London. We left Austin on a Thursday night, got a red eye, and landed in London on Friday morning. I really liked the travel safety video. It was like Bridgerton-esque. Once we landed, we got a coffee and then checked into our Airbnb, then went to get some food at Seven Dials Market, which was really close to our Airbnb in Covent Garden. Then we walked around. It was a pretty rainy day today in London, but I don't mind a rainy day in London. I feel like that's what I picture in my head for the UK and for the weather here typically. So it felt very like quintessentially London, quintessentially British, so it was really nice to experience the city in this way. We headed to Trafalgar Square and the National Gallery, which is an art museum, and it's free admission, and it was really, really cool. They had a lot of famous paintings. We saw some Van Goghs, some Renoirs, some Monets, and it was very pretty. We probably could have spent many, many hours here, but we had a packed schedule even for day one, so we made our way through the museum pretty quickly. Like I mentioned, this was a family trip. I was with my parents and my sister, and this was all of their first time in London. So we only had 3 days, and my mom was trying to see it all. So after this, we headed to the British Library. We hopped on one of the iconic double-decker buses and made our way to the library, which is really close to St. Pancras Station. And this is a really, really pretty library. We just wanted to see it for the aesthetics, for the architecture. And then there's also an exhibit here called Treasures of the British Library. And this is a collection of a lot of very historic and very important documents from British and world history, which was very cool. And then we, of course, had to also hit up the library's bookshop, and I found a copy of the book that I'm currently reading, which was very cool. And despite this bookshop being pretty small, they were very well stocked. And one of my favorite things when I travel is seeing all the different versions of book covers. So the UK typically has different book covers than the US, so that was a very cool thing to see. And then we left, and it was coming down even harder outside. So we made our way to the British Museum, which is very famous for all the artifacts that it has here. Famously, a lot of stolen artifacts from a lot of different cultures and countries around the world. So we did see some of those. It's, on the one hand, interesting and fascinating to see these artifacts, but on the other hand, it's quite sad and frustrating that they're all just sitting here and not in their home countries. But I digress. We saw the Rosetta Stone and just a lot of other very impressive art pieces and sculptures. So this was a really nice museum, and it's also free admissions, but we did make a reservation in advance because it gets quite packed. And after this, we made our way back to the Airbnb, went through Chinatown, got some taiyaki, but I will just say that nothing compares to taiyaki in Japan. These were just okay. We stopped by Piccadilly Circus just to see the lights, see the spectacle before wrapping up and calling it a day. And that was our first day in London. It was a busy one, a rainy one, but a very lovely one and a great start to our trip. So let's travel journal about our first day in London. This is my very first time travel journaling. I am starting a brand new notebook. This was gifted to me as like a travel scrapbook, so I thought I would put it to use finally and start documenting my travels, which is something that I've meant to do for a long time, and I'm glad to finally be picking up the practice. And I really had a great time putting this spread together. I gathered some bits and bobs from my trip. Ephemera is a word that is new to me, but that I'm learning. Fits the bill here. And besides like some pictures that I printed out, I also just sketched out a couple of things, a couple of the places that we went. And And then I just filled out the empty space with kind of a diary entry of our day and everything that we did. So this was the first day. Our second day started with a visit to Westminster Abbey, the famous church where a lot of royal ceremonies are held, including crownings and royal weddings. It was really cool. We did have to reserve and buy tickets for this. And inside, we weren't allowed to take any videos, but we were allowed to take some pictures. And it's very, very beautiful inside. Here are some pictures of what it looks like. And entry did include a free self-guided audio tour that kind of takes you through the entire church and gives you a lot of the history behind it. So this was a really cool tour and a really nice start to our morning. And after this, we went to Buckingham Palace just to see it. We didn't linger here for long. We kind of just walked around and then walked through St. James Park. Temperature-wise, this day was very pleasant, but it was extremely windy. So that was the only downside of the weather today, but at least it wasn't raining. So we had a really nice stroll through the park, and we made our way towards the Thames River to see Big Ben. It was a sunny Saturday morning, so there was a lot of crowds, a lot of tourists, even though this isn't technically like peak vacation time or anything here in London. So it was pretty poppin', but it wasn't like overcrowded or anything. So after seeing Big Ben and crossing Westminster Bridge and seeing the London Eye, we hopped on a bus and headed to Borough Market. Borough Market is the largest food market here in London, and they have a lot of different things you can buy. And we got some fish and chips here that were really, really good. They really hit the spot. After this, we headed to the Sir John Soane's Museum, which my sister told us about and we wanted to go to. My sister is an architect, and so was Sir John Soane, and this was his house where he lived, and he loved to collect a lot of art and artifacts, so his house displays a lot of his collection, and it's really, really cool. After this, we headed to the financial district, had to jump over a lorry that was blocking the street for some reason. That was fun. We walked through Leadenhall Market. Everything was closed at this point, but it was just a very pretty market. And then we just walked through the streets of the financial district. It was the weekend, so not a lot of people out and about. It was a little bit empty and eerie, but very cool buildings. And then we walked to the London Tower to see the Tower Bridge, and it was a very nice evening, very windy still, but the Tower Bridge looked very pretty. And yeah, we just spent our afternoon, evening hanging out here. Not pictured here is that we finished off our day with a dinner at Nando's, which was very delicious. There is a Nando's in Austin now, which is kind of crazy, but my parents had never tried it, and I feel like it's kind of a UK staple, so that's where we had dinner. So it is now our third and final day in London, and to start off our morning, we headed to the Notting Hill neighborhood, which is famous for having these really pretty streets and colorful homes and a lot of shops and markets that pop up. So we headed here because my mom really likes the movie Notting Hill, and I have to admit that I had never watched the movie, but before coming on the trip, my mom was like, I want to go here, and we watched the movie, and I really, really loved it. So we had to visit the bookshop, which is featured in the movie. It's very quaint, very cozy. I got a couple things, really enjoyed my time here. And then we had the famous Greg's sausage roll for breakfast, and I have to say it was very delicious. I was pleasantly surprised because I had very low expectations. Notting Hill and walking down Portobello Road was actually one of my favorite things that we ended up doing during our short time in London. I definitely recommend checking out this neighborhood. It's very cute. After this, we walked to Kensington Palace and to the Kensington Gardens, and this was a very lovely park. I'm not sure where Kensington Gardens ends and Hyde Park begins, but either way, it was a beautiful day, a beautiful park, and we came here because we had made reservations at this restaurant called the Orangery, which is on the grounds of Kensington Gardens, right next to Kensington Palace, and I really wanted to get an afternoon tea in London, so I thought what better way to do that than on the grounds of the Kensington Palace, and it was a very, very lovely little restaurant. Afternoon tea was very, very good. I thought, like, we're just here for the experience. Like, I'm not expecting much from, like, the actual tea and pastries, but they ended up being very, very delicious. Well worth the a little bit expensive price. After our tea, we headed further into the park. We walked past the Albert Memorial, which is very huge and extravagant and impressive, and we walked to a couple of museums. We first went to the Natural History Museum. Really quickly, we kind of just walked in and out, perused very lightly, and then we walked across the street to the Victoria and Albert Museum, which is an art museum and famous to me for the scene in red, white, and royal blue. Hashtag who remembers. And both of these museums that we visited are free admission, so that's very nice. And the last thing we did on this day was go to Abbey Road. My parents are big Beatles fans, so we had to walk across the road, take an iconic Beatles picture. And for dinner, we had Korean fried chicken from just around the corner from our Airbnb. This place had a long line every night, so we had to try it and it was very good. And that wraps up our time in London. It was a really quick one. Looking back, I wish we had more time to really spend exploring the city and the surroundings and just take in everything at kind of a slower pace. I would love to come back and keep exploring, but this was a very lovely trip. My parents had a good time visiting the city for the first time. We did a lot with the short amount of time we had, and yeah, I just had a lovely time in London. And I will just finish up this spread for the last day. The first page of this is dedicated to our morning in Notting Hill. I got a couple things from the store, like I mentioned, so I'm just adding those here, some stickers, and this blind date with a book description that I ended up getting, and was really happy with my blind date, with what that ended up being, actually. So just wrapping this up here with the final pictures and description of what we did on our third day in London. After this, we headed out to Paris, so I am planning on documenting that part of the trip as well. We spent more time in Paris than we did in London. But yeah, this is my first travel journal. Hopefully, I can continue this trend and just continue with my journaling practice and journey. And I'm hoping to do just some more like everyday junk journaling. So I'll probably vlog about that in some upcoming videos. But yeah, this was my trip to London with my family. It was a very good time. I really enjoyed the city. I enjoyed the weather. It was really nice to escape the Texas weather for some true fall weather and colors, and I really recommend going in October. It was a really pleasant time. We got kind of the whole gamut in terms of weather in London. So thank you for watching this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know if you've been to London recently. What were your favorite things, and do you have any recommendations? Because I would love to go back sometime soon. And if you're into journaling, let me know what some of your favorite supplies and resources are, because I am very much in a journaling vibe right now. Would love to continue that. So let me know, and